I wouldn't say that I was conscious of my purpose. Um, I do very much believe that I believe in fate, and I believe that we all have a path and a journey. And I guess over time, my purpose revealed itself to me by the experiences that I had, the people who were brought into my life, and I guess my experience of 12-step recovery, of working with different therapists, both individually and also in a group setting, has really helped me to sort of build that self-awareness. And I guess one of the things now that I sort of see as being fundamental to my recovery is this ability to kind of balance self-responsibility with self-compassion.
Amos Madra.
Hello and a very warm welcome. I'm joined by Jenny Betteridge, who's the founder of Our Best Life. And it's all about helping women who are suffering from trauma, so many different things. I can just think of trauma here, but with anxiety, addiction, burnout, codependency, depression, stress, there's so much. And Jenny's doing a wonderful job. So it's a pleasure to have her here on the show today. Jenny, a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to be part of the conversation.
Fantastic. Jenny, when I think about the work that you do, and, there's a lot of people who are going through so much at the moment, what do you think the biggest issues are when your clients or these women come to you? What is it that you find that, is a recurring theme and they keep asking your help in that particular area? What is it?
I guess one of the big challenges at the moment is access to help. There are obviously very long waiting lists for people who are experiencing different challenges at the moment. And I guess there's support there for people who are in real crisis. But my experience of my own recovery and also working with other women in recovery is that there are lots of challenges around different areas of life. Once people have moved past that initial crisis, and it can be quite difficult to work out where the best place is to get help and support and how to create a good network of people to help people really, create a life they love.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. And, you made a great point there. You moved beyond the crisis, but you still need that network of love, having the right people around you. And I can imagine over the pandemic, that must have been quite some challenging times for many of the women that you help. Again, you spoke about waiting times. I mean, just on the news yesterday, they were talking about waiting times for cancer treatments and also just to get people on prescriptions as well, which has gone up. And, it's a whole array of issues that, you're having to deal with in terms of helping your clients. So let's take it all back again, because I think there's so much value that we can give to the audience here. And with your experience, I think we can get so much out of this. Talk to us about your own story. What was it that brought you to this point in your career?
So I've been in recovery for just coming up to 5 years. So I mark the beginning of my active recovery as the time that I essentially sought help for addiction. And I had sort of many different addictive patterns around alcohol, food, relationships, work. So I sought help through 12-step recovery and also through therapy in that year of 2018. And yeah, it's been quite a journey. But one of the things that has been really great about that journey is that I've had the opportunity to start working with other women as part of my 12-step recovery. And then that really inspired me to retrain as a coach. So I did that in 2020. And then this year have then sort of deepened my qualification by becoming a trauma informed coach. I set up Our Best Life this year with the goal of helping women in recovery to imagine and create their happiest, truest, and most beautiful lives. And yeah, it feels good to be sort of living in that purpose.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It's the purpose. It's finding your calling, what you are destined to do. And I think sometimes, when you look back, I know as difficult and as bad as it is, and everything that you went through, in hindsight, some of the things that you would have gone through has made you who you are today. And being able to be relatable to your clients, they feel that they can trust you because you are somebody that's gone through what they're dealing with. Do you find that, your work has increased tenfold as a result of the pandemic and with everything that's going on, the cost of living?
So my business is relatively new, but I have very much seen the demand for help and support sort of skyrocket as a result of the pandemic. I remember reading research maybe 12, 18 months ago that said that 40% of addicts had relapsed during the pandemic, and there'd been a doubling from 4.8 to 8.4 million people identifying as problem drinkers. So I think that the pandemic, really had an impact on addictive behaviors, but obviously there was also a lot of isolation, which would not have helped at all for those suffering with anxiety or depression, a lot of loneliness. So I guess what I noticed was that everybody had their struggles and challenges during the pandemic. It just looked different depending on where people lived, who they lived with, what happened with their employment. So there were lots of different challenges that people were facing. And I think that we're really starting to see the knock-on effect now in terms of people's mental health. And yeah, again, the challenges are different depending on people's circumstances. Obviously, the cost of living crisis is, very badly timed, given that we've just come out of the pandemic. It's not really given people time to kind of breathe and pause after going through all of that. And I guess from an employment perspective, I think there's a lot of people sort of currently facing work-related stress and burnout. So yeah, it does feel like a challenging time right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of that old saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. It's just one thing after another, and it takes its toll, doesn't it? You spoke about the environment that, one might find themselves in. It could be the loneliness, it could be so many different factors. In your own experience, how did you remove yourself from that particular environment? How do you work with your clients to try and bring them to a place where they can develop and grow, or just come away from what it is they're dealing with?
So I typically work with women who are feeling stuck. So perhaps who have started on the journey of recovery and are past that initial crisis point, but are now finding that they, want to make sort of bigger changes in their life. Many of the women that I work with are not necessarily sort of in a place where they feel that they're living in alignment with their values and their purpose, maybe unsure about what their purpose is or could be. So it's really about helping women to imagine a life that they feel excited about, and to start working through doable steps to help them get from where they are now to where they'd like to be in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Jenny, when I hear you speak and I'm talking to you here, you know, you come across as somebody who's very self-aware. Were you always self-aware? Were you always conscious about your purpose?
I wouldn't say that I was conscious of my purpose. Um, I do very much believe that I believe in fate, and I believe that we all have a path and a journey. And I guess over time, my purpose revealed itself to me by the experiences that I had, the people who were brought into my life. And I guess my experience of 12-step recovery, of working with different therapists, sort of both individually and also in a group setting, has really helped me to sort of build that self-awareness. And I guess one of the things now that I sort of see as being fundamental to my recovery is this ability to kind of balance self-responsibility with self-compassion. So making sure that I am taking the right actions in order to be healthy and, have a positive impact on other people around me, but also really cultivating that compassion and inner trust that sort of help me stay in a place of balance and sort of feeling good.
Absolutely. And to take this journey takes a lot of self-belief, a lot of faith, because I can imagine there's some difficult roads that, and some days you might ask yourself, why have I committed to this? You might have left an employment that you were in where it was full time. It was, you had your pensions paid for, but you took that risk. Talk to us about that journey and wanting to really start this business and to help people.
I guess my experience has been that I really enjoyed the career and the job and the role that I had. Um, I was working with a business for 10 plus years before I sort of decided to take the plunge. My experience has been there's been like a number of points in my life where I've wanted to set up my own business, but I've never had the self belief or confidence to take that plunge. And I guess really that understanding of like just how much focus and energy it does take to kind of really get started. So I feel really excited to have crossed that threshold into sort of running my own business and yeah, to have that leap of faith, which I guess comes from that real sense of like feeling like I have found my purpose, and that as long as I'm living my life in alignment with that purpose, and each day I'm looking at where are the opportunities to, be of service to women in recovery, whether that's just in my general community or clients that I'm working with, that faith that, as long as I'm sort of in that purpose, then, I can trust that good things will unfold.
Indeed. And, like any good coach, you start with yourself, don't you? And, you've done a remarkable job. And I think about, this 12-step journey and program that you've got, and I can imagine you reflect and look at, how you're doing in your own journey. What are the biggest tips that you can give to us? And how can we apply some of these 12-step journeys into what we do to be a better self, a better version of who we are?
So if I think about my sort of my full experience of um, different, I guess, modalities for healing. So whether that's 12-step recovery, therapy, coaching, um, I guess the things that have been most useful to me have been around connection. Like it's often said that connection is the opposite of addiction. Um, so I think it's really important to build a good support network of other people who have been through similar experiences and have got that same drive to, create a different life and improve things for themselves. So I think that sort of that connection and community is really important. I do think it's important to foster in real life connection. I think that, there's a lot of opportunity for connection sort of through online and through social media, but I don't think it can fully replace, what happens when you have people, meeting together in real life and supporting each other. So I think that connection and community is really important. And then I guess there's something about just being open-minded about accessing different types of help and support, and building up that support network, looking at different resources. I often think of recovery as a form of synthesis. So there's so many different inputs and perspectives out there, particularly when we think about social media. There's obviously lots of content out there around sort of self-help and healing. So I guess it's that sort of open-mindedness and that sort of trust to be able to kind of take these different inputs and perspectives, and to use that to kind of build a recovery that for me, what I've been able to do is build a recovery that is aligned with my values, aligned with what's important to me. And that's based on the inputs and perspectives from lots of different people and resources that I've drawn upon.
Absolutely. This is so good. There's so much value from this. And, again, these are things that we can apply and, straight away. We don't need to wait, immediately. These are things that you can do. This is why I was looking so much forward to this interview. I know that you get so many clients that you're dealing with, and it's different areas. Can somebody who perhaps doesn't acknowledge that they've got maybe a problem with alcohol be helped? Can they be reached? Can they be supported to maybe change?
I think that everybody has got that kind of innate internal desire to be well on some level. I think there's something like very human about that desire to, want to be healthy and want to be well. I think it can be very struggling for it can be a real struggle for people to sort of really ask for help. But I think that it is possible for everybody. But it's just important for that to be kind of when they feel ready, and not to be kind of like pressurized into asking for help when they're not yet ready.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? You want to help them, but you don't want to push them too much, because equally you're thinking about their health as well, isn't it? So it's finding that right balance, and I suppose that's a challenge. So we know that you're busy with the business at the moment. What can we expect in the near future?
So at the moment, my sort of main focus is around developing a mix of individual and group coaching programs that will go live in January. Obviously, it's a key time of year when everybody's sort of thinking about the year ahead. So that's my sort of main focus, alongside the work that I'm doing to support employers who want to offer the best help and support to female leaders in recovery. So that's more of the corporate side of things.
Exciting, fantastic. And finally, how can the audience connect with you?
So I am on Instagram under our Best Life Coaching. And I can also be found on LinkedIn. So my name is Jenny Betteridge.
Thank you, Jenny. And what we'll do is we'll put all the links in the description so that the audience can connect with you. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And, there's so many, key skills that you've given us here today that we can apply to our own selves, into our own lives. And it's a constant pruning, isn't it? It's a constant working on oneself. We all want to be a bit better than we were yesterday. And, we all have our demons which we have to face, and having the right people around you, having the right environment, an environment that's conducive to growth, and to have the right people to help you without judging you is so important. And just want to honor you and celebrate you for sharing that with us today. Jenny, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
If you want some amazing inspiration, check out the videos next to me, and I'll see you right there.